A Roman bath with preserved plumbing has been found in Pompeii. The oldest three-dimensional map was discovered in a cave in France, and in Britain, the largest dinosaur trackway in history. 2025 has only just begun, and archaeology is already heating up. And as you've guessed, in the next few minutes we'll break down all the latest finds and discoveries, taking us to Portugal, Egypt, and even Iran. We'll have to start in Rome because the news from there is incredible. We've all heard about the engineering genius of Roman baths, but most of the evidence is reconstructions and scholarly writings. People are always skeptical of what they can't touch. Well, here you go. In Pompeii, a bathhouse was found where even the plumbing survived. Recently, archaeologists freed from Vesuvius's ashes a whole spa complex inside a massive luxury villa. First, lucky guests invited by the owners entered a changing room with bright red walls and a floor mosaic of geometric patterns. Then came the hot room with a bathtub and sauna, the effect achieved thanks to a suspended floor and hollow walls through which heated air circulated. Next was a vividly painted room for massages and oil treatments. And then the highlight, the frigidarium. A huge hall with red columns and frescoes, complete with a cool swimming pool for cooling off. That pool has survived entirely, with taps and pipes intact. Sweep it, clean it, and you could launch it tomorrow. It held dozens of people, and you can imagine how well they enjoyed their time there. Nearby was a boiler room with a giant lead cauldron and a complex system of pipes. The valves, according to researchers, look so modern you'd think workers installed them yesterday. The villa also had a banquet hall, prayer room, laundry, and bakery. Thanks to Vesuvius, everything is preserved as if people were there an hour ago. Tools are still scattered around, suggesting repairs were underway when the eruption struck. The most chilling evidence is two bodies in a small annex. A young man under 20, probably a slave judging by his worn bones, and a woman about 40 with gold and pearl earrings, healthy teeth, and jewelry clutched in her hands, likely a mistress and her servant. They tried to hide together in a small room. The man pressed into a corner, the woman curled up on a bed. The pyroclastic flow smashed through, crushing him instantly, while she lived a bit longer before being buried by ash and lava. Archaeologists are now carefully removing this very ash, revealing Pompeii as it was minutes before disaster, both amazing and terrifying. Now, to dinosaurs. Just 15 kilometers from Oxford, an excavator operator noticed odd bumps and hollows in a quarry. By sheer luck, he was an archaeology enthusiast and knew that tracks had been found nearby in the 1990s. He called in scientists who confirmed the discovery of Europe's largest dinosaur trackway. Over 200 footprints have been found, about 166 million years old. The longest chain stretches 150 meters, and there are 5 in total. 4 were left by 18-meter-long sauropods walking on all fours. The 5th by smaller predators, megalosaurs. Scientists say the 3-toed prints look almost like fakes, but they are real. At the time, the area was a lagoon. The sauropods crossed first, and then the megalosaurs stepped right into their tracks, perhaps in a hunt or simply taking the same path. The tracks are priceless, allowing reconstructions of dinosaur anatomy, weight distribution, and movement. They survived, scientists believe, because a hurricane buried them quickly, protecting them for millions of years. On to ancient Egypt. Around 4,000 years ago lived a physician named Chenenet Phil, so skilled that Pharaoh Pipe II took him into his personal service between 2305 and 2180 BC. Judging by his many titles, he was one of the most important figures of his age: chief palace physician, royal family doctor, magician of the goddess Serket, and more. We know this from his recently discovered tomb in Saqqara, 40 kilometers from Cairo. Built as a rectangular mastaba, it contained a stone sarcophagus inscribed with his titles and adorned with painted scenes that have miraculously survived thanks to the desert climate. The tomb shows both medical expertise and magical rituals. He treated intestinal disorders, gynecological problems, and even dentistry, but also invoked divine protection against scorpion venom. It's clear that in ancient Egypt, science and magic walked hand in hand. Meanwhile, in France, in the Ségognola 3 cave, a surprising collaboration of science and desire was found. About 13,000 years ago, people shaped part of a cave to resemble the local landscape, rivers, ponds, hills, and decorated the walls with animal drawings tied to those landmarks. This is the oldest known 3D map. And one section of the map was represented in the form of a voluptuous woman's body, showing our ancestors' flair for creativity. This find proves the importance of abstract thinking, suggesting that without imagination, humanity might never have moved beyond caves. Sometimes discoveries are stranger still. Since 2005, archaeologists dredging Rome's sewers have been finding crabs. At first, they thought it was coincidence, but these crabs are not the known Italian freshwater species. They're larger, grow slower, and breed differently. Scientists realized that 3,000 years ago, these crabs lived in the Tiber, but when Romans built the Cloaca Maxima sewer system, the crabs became trapped inside. The sewers provided water, shelter, and safety from predators, letting them thrive. In effect, the Romans inadvertently created a new species of crab, which has survived even the fall of the empire. Of course, archaeology also has its grey zone, treasure hunting. Officially, finds must be handed over, but we all know stories of vanished coins or amphorae full of gold. In Portugal, underwater archaeologist Alexandra Monteiro claims to have located some 250 shipwrecks along the coast, many loaded with treasure. One Spanish ship near the Troya Peninsula reportedly carried 22 tons of gold and silver. Laws in Portugal are lenient, raising fears that treasure hunters might plunder wrecks unchecked. In Iran, shifting dunes on the Caspian coast recently revealed the remains of a 28-meter-long 15th century ship, likely Russian. Inside were baskets of buckwheat, one of the empire's chief exports. The ship probably sank in a storm, was washed ashore and buried in sand until now. And finally, back to the Romans. Like the Egyptians, they had little idea of the dangers of lead and used it freely. In plumbing, in metallurgy, in silver extraction. Lead particles filled the air, lowering Rome's IQ by 2 to 3 points, scientists estimate. We know this from Greenland ice cores, which preserve annual layers of pollution. Lead levels correlate with Rome's industrial peaks. More mining, more lead in the ice. After Rome fell, the levels dropped. Lead is a neurotoxin, damaging especially the brain, so some scholars suggest it may even have contributed to Rome's decline. What do you think? Could lead poisoning have helped bring down the empire? That's all for now. Let's move to the comments and discuss these amazing discoveries together. We'll be waiting for you and will gladly answer your questions.